I'm encouraged that the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act was passed at all. I think it caught most people by surprise. I think people had, based on good evidence for a long time, said nothing could be done in the area of guns by Congress. And so something was done, and I think that's an extraordinarily positive step. I think the numbers that we're looking at in terms of gun violence in the United States are not encouraging. There seems to be a crescendo of violence, and there's no indication that this is going to stop. So I'm very hopeful that Congress will return and expand and strengthen this act in several areas and add some areas that they used to do. But it's certainly a great first step.
Great first step. Does anything stand out that you're glad is included in it, or you think had to be included in it?
In the art of the possible, I think it did quite a bit, particularly for mental health, providing funds for mental health, hardening schools, providing funds so that we can make schools a bit safer, providing for red flag laws and encouraging red flag laws where you take away guns from people who are clearly in crisis. In certain areas, I think it was quite strong. And all of the aims of the bill as a whole were fairly limited compared to what gun safety advocates would like. At the same time, it was a good summation of the art of the possible at this moment in Congress.
And it does sound like this is something maybe that you didn't expect to happen.
I did not expect this to happen at all. And I really thought, and that's one of the frustrating things about guns and thinking about guns and gun violence, is that Congress has been at an impasse for some 30 years. And loggerheads between people who think it's crazy that the United States leads the world in gun violence and gun deaths, and other people who say, well, there are bad people here just like there are everywhere, and we have mostly law-abiding, gun-owning citizens who are exercising their constitutionally guaranteed rights. And that's been the divide over which we have been unable to affect any great legislation.
What do politicians, if you were teaching them in your class right now, what would you say? Okay, you've done this, this, and this, but you need to look at this, this, and this.
One of the things they could look at, I think, is to go back to allowing the CDC to look at this as a public health issue. We've seen some areas like, for example, seatbelts is a good example, or our childhood safety features on different kinds of play toys and so on, where studies have shown how to make things safer and better, and deaths have gone down and injuries have gone down. So I think if the CDC was empowered to really do the kind of studies that they need to do, then some solutions would start to emerge. One of the things that's a problem in guns and talking about guns and legislating on guns today is not just the impasse or the Second Amendment or the advocates one way or the other, but the fact that we really don't have good data about what changes in our current gun laws might produce in terms of reductions in gun harm. So do you really want to bring down teenage suicide, for example? It really makes sense to do some research to figure out what would be the single thing that would be most likely to bring down teen suicide. But as long as the CDC is prevented from doing that kind of research, we are handicapping ourselves, and we're not doing some of the common sense things we could.
Are there any essentials that that what was crafted falls short of?
Yeah, there are some real essentials. I mean, people point to the easy availability of guns in our society, and that's certainly one thing. There are some holes with straw purchasers. We saw the killing at Highland Park. Illinois is a state with fairly strict gun laws, but someone was still able to get a gun. Guns cross borders fairly easily. Borders are porous. Doesn't matter that New York has tight gun laws if other states close to it have very loose gun laws. So there are a number of things that can be done under the Interstate Commerce Clause and some other ways to tighten up and crack down. It's just Congress needs to find the will to do so.
Thanks so much. I appreciate always your comments, and congratulations on your new post at ULM.
Thanks, Andre. Well, be sure to reach out anytime you want to talk. Always happy to talk.